And hello, and welcome back to Trails into Reverie. I was about to say of Cold Steel, because it does feel like that at the moment. So what ended up happening was I got fucking sick. I'm still actually a bit sick. I recorded the last episode being, recovering from being sick, and then I sort of, had a relapse after that. Right now is actually me having done all the stuff previously that I need to for this episode.
Okay.
Not being able to sleep. I wanted to sleep and go into this with a fresher mind, but fuck, it was 3 hours of me not being able to sleep because I just have this fucking migraine. With that in mind, it's gonna be the last recording session! Probably. Sure feels like it. With that said, I did get everyone set up. I was sort of hoping that through my selections, I'd have one of these trials I could go do without needing to touch anything. And McBurn I might be able to do if I push the level a little bit higher. But no, I'm not going to do that. And every single one of the other ones has one or two people that I did not level up for all this. I have used up all my stuff, and I now have 3 parties worth of guys I can use at decent levels. Basically, in terms of actual grinding, what I ended up doing was I went through the last 5 floors of the Zero Stratum twice, just fully bringing along, having 4 people there normally, and then bringing along 2 groups of 4, and that got up a lot of their levels. Going through that, it got up a lot of their levels because there's usually a level per even basic battle at that point. It got their levels up to within the range I could push them up, and then I also had enough EXP candy basically to go and get the ones that I didn't pull through that up. With all this said, I think I've talked about it before. I did organize everything a bit better. So I have Evasion Tank in each of my team. I have S-Craft CP Battery. I have Magic Attacker. I have Tank, Defensive Tank. Defensive Tank proper 6200 defense. It's I have Healer. I have Alternative Attacker, and then I have can probably help at some point. They're probably not so bad. Machias has his accelerate order or craft. These 2 are just generally good. I actually looked at them and with the stuff I had on them, it's oh, they actually have pretty good orbment setups at the moment. McBurn I imagine is just going to be generally good because I didn't need to upgrade a whole lot of his equipment. Rufus I figured would be good to bring along, partly because of the story, partly because, I didn't have a great reason. I had set up Ren previously as sort of a physical attacker, so I did have sort of I guess she's more of a mixed attacker now. Not a good mixed attacker based on the stats I have for my actual art attackers or my physical attackers getting up to the 6,000s and stuff like that. Not really actually good, but probably could step in a pinch and live long enough to do something helpful. I also got some more orders for the extras to assign to people if it makes me have it on different groups. But that's sort of the idea. I do actually sort of want to sit down and work through my setup for everyone. A lot of them are going to be very similar to exactly what you already know. But I know Trails and... Oh, speaking of which. Daybreak. It got an announced release date. It's in July. So I have a few months to get through Xenoblade at least. Because after this, the main thing, that and probably Chaos Child, at least the common route. That and Xenoblade, I definitely want to get that stuff done. And then hit Daybreak when that comes out. That's going to be happening a bit this recording session, I imagine. With that said, yay! They also apparently announced a new Tokyo Xanadu for next year. In Japan, of course. With that said, it's apparently announced for the 10th anniversary of the game? I know, like, I didn't play it when it came out in English. I don't think I did, at least. But it also had to go through, like, that long localization process that had, like, especially back then for Falcom games. So I know it was, like, a number of years out from its release at that point even. But at the same time, it's like, oh yeah, because I played it on, I think I played it on my PS4, so it would have been, it would have definitely not been the original release, but fuck, it's been 10 years since that came out. Oh fuck, I feel old. Don't even tell me when Cold Steel 1 came out. I don't want to think about that. Because I know they were advertising Cold Steel 3 in Tokyo Xanadu, which means Cold Steel 1 significantly before that. So, everyone's set up. Let's start from the back. Okay, so Ren has stuff. I was not able to... So I sort of ran into me doing something really stupid when I was trying to set together... I was trying to build up a... like, high speed... Like, one of the higher quality Speed Plus quartz. And I was, like, following the recipe and all that stuff, and it's like... Oh, I built up to... You need Lost Genesis in order to create, like, the Diablos gem. And it's like... Oh, I got my Lost Genesis UR here. I just built it up. Used U material. Went out of my way to get another SR Lost Genesis. And then I look at it again. It's like, wait, I thought I just got it. Wait, no, it's asking for the SR, which is a lower rank than the UR I just made. And so I already had enough Lost Genesis to get 2 Diablos gems that I could have made the Dazzling one. And then I had a UR one, which I couldn't do anything with. So I ended up just, like, doubling down and using all of my freaking time sepith. As you can see by my values, using all my time sepith just to try to enable that. So I wasn't able to get everyone's slots fully upgraded. I didn't really need to either, because I was running out of stuff to put on people by the end there. As you can see with the Ren. I still had stuff that's good, stuff that could be put on 2 level 2s, but I wasn't really able to set people up for a specific, like, task in, like, the last ones. Because, like I said, I have, like, 2 at the end for each team setup that is very much a, yeah, okay, this'll be what it is. For Magius, I sort of I wanted to have a bit more of a fast physical attacker and gave him Sophia because, what's-her-face wasn't using it. Because she's, Elisa. Yeah, Elisa. Holy shit. I was, in my mind, I don't know why I was questioning if it was Alicia. It's like, no, Elisa. That's right. Warning, I'm still sort of sick. So this is going to be real fun if this is a hard fight. With that said, I was sort of thinking, yeah, sort of a physical attacker with a bit of a defensive bulk, and really none of the above actually applies, but I was like running on fumes of options at this point. But he's fast enough that he could probably get off some accelerates, which is the only important part there. So Randy, someone I actually set up stuff on, has 81 crit percentage. 81% crit percentage while also having a 5200 strength stat. While not having horrible defense either. So, that's the idea there. 20% evasion with all that too. Noelle is very similar to how I had her set up before. She is a bit bulky. Not super duper amazingly bulky, but bulky while also having... basically being a healer. For all intents and purposes, she is support. ability to do stuff like Forte and Passion, Earth Pulse, all the different healing. I'm not sure. I think I probably had Shining on her at some point, but it's fine. But yeah, very similar to what I had before. Lloyd is physical, or defensive, 62,000 health. Double what my quote-unquote bulky Noelle had. As well as having quite good defensive stats. His attacking is also notably better than hers. I'm not sure the 3 levels are going to do that. Admittedly, I did defensively... I did get most people up to the highest level of the stuff. What I didn't do was I didn't have enough thingamabobs in order to get everyone's weapons above +3. So there's I focused on making sure the actual like primary attackers I had their like strongest version of everything. So the ones that I definitely wanted to be like focused on attacking, they all have those mostly. And the other ones were sort of just, I went as far as I could with them. Mainly focusing on trying to get people's, ooh, I feel like, ooh, she's gonna die horribly. 95% evasion, it's okay. One sec. Yeah, if she's being... I just sold some stuff and got more U material. That's another nice thing, that you can basically buy U material. Because I also sold off a bunch of the stuff that's like, it's items I'm never going to use, because I would refuse to let myself use them, in particular. Yeah, that's significantly better on the defensive front now. Okay, that's much nicer to see. Evasion tank, I'd like her to be able to take a hit when she gets hit. Basically is what that boils down to. But yeah, Lloyd is super duper bulky here, as well as having the Anvari one, which has the damage reduction as he gets hit over the course of it. So he should be quite good at that, while also being particularly strong in terms of doing break damage, which has always been the idea for him. Do a bunch of break damage, be bulky, and just, you know, live. Musée, very similar setup to how I had her all this time. Same sort of stuff, but basically, hey, just upgrade it where I could. Laura, similar thought, upgraded where I could. She takes even the slightest bit of damage, and she will proceed to be at 200 CP. Which is incredibly helped by the fact that I was able to get this thing, which is CP gain plus 100 and also plus 10 per turn, plus 6 per turn. She had plus like 2 or 3 per turn before I went and refined her setup as part of all this. So her CP is going to be like, she gets touched and she's at 200 CP. Like, legitimately, fuck. Fuck. Duvalie. I got another 0-hour puppet, so I decided to put that on her. That is admittedly 30% of her evasion, so even if it gets kicked, it's still going to be at 76%, so that's not horrible. While also having a decent crit rate, which I think is important for how I like having her set up. I didn't want to do that one, I wanted to do this one. And then generally focusing around having really high speed, that Anvari still... the ability to take that increased damage for each attack evaded. Yeah, that's a good one to have. I don't think that's necessarily as good as doing a bunch of damage on the evasion, but I do like to... I did want to... When I originally set that up on her, and I've had it set up on her, I wanted it to be sort of a twist on it all. While also having the more likely to notice you, which I'm still not actually sure if that's in battle for AI, or if that's just the out-of-battle AI chasing. I think it's probably the out-of-battle stuff. Either way, she has some of the best gems. My main party has some of the best quartz, basically. And that's Team C, basically. On to Team B. For Rufus, I did try to set him up as an art attacker. I wouldn't exactly describe him as good, but he does have a lot of critical elements. High crits, recovers EP and CP through offensive arts, and gets EP back via that. And then basically the idea was having to be a little bit of a mixed attacker, mainly focused on arts. He is, like with the other two, sort of the results of what I had left. McBurn already had a bit of a good setup, and I went ahead and just tried to double down on it by giving him crit rate mainly, as well as Sophia. Because for a group that's just like, hey, you're here just in case, I think that's probably a good thing to put on a few of them. For Wazi, it is very similar. He was also probably the ones that got kicked a bit hard by all this. I do think I set him up... there's someone I set up a bit differently because I had them maybe a bit weirdly with a secondary course that had to do with like item efficiency. I was like, what? Why did I do that? And I think it has been the idea for quite some time, is this idea of CP automatically increasing, EP recovery also automatically increasing, while also having HP and then recovering CP, and basically having be a mixed attacker. Not like a super strong mixed attacker, but like the arts flow into the crafts, flows into the arts, flows into the crafts sort of concept. He's not fantastic in any capacity, but as an alternative attacker, he'll do. Especially when you have these two are probably some of the more competent alternatives to him as a mixed attacker. Ellie is probably a bit more predictable. She is a healer, specifically the AoE healing, also Sophia, because, yeah, I'm a coward. I'm a big ol' coward. Her art strength isn't bad either, so I imagine I'll be trying to, when I get a chance, especially with this wind art up and all that sort of fun stuff. I wonder if that affects healing at all. Probably doesn't even matter, given how much this is, like 4.25% times. But still. With that in mind, yeah. She's pretty straightforward. Try to give her art attack, try to give her speed is probably the most important thing, to have her be able to move and act as she can, while also giving her the ability to attack, and just the main thing is really that L cannon. For Lapis, I decided I wanted to do the same thing I did previously. I didn't actually change the general idea on almost any of them, except I think Machias is the only one. Machias might have been the one that I had like, probably because I hadn't touched Machias before all this. Yeah, that's actually weird. I don't think I touched Machias before all this. He's the only one I think I like developed a new concept for. For Lapis, it's the same idea, being very bulky. Her HP isn't nearly as high as Yuna or Lloyd, but she does have very high stats, as well as the Anvari still, as well as the ability to absorb arts if it comes down to it, and or evade via this. That's pretty good on those fronts, while also having generally good defense and HP. She should be a good option in just tanking attacks, and hopefully staying alive long enough, especially because she has a Thalos, to, you know, support everyone. For Nadia, this was basically a refinement of what I had on her previously, which was focused around the Mercurius Master Quartz, which is based around the idea of exploiting weaknesses. For her, I actually doubled down sort of on the idea of her attacking primarily with that Diamond Nova, with the idea of the True Ocean Bell primarily, with the water art damage up. I very much hope that we have a weakness to water art damage, or else she's just going to be a general art attacker. Because her art strength is actually in a pretty good place. I think it's stronger than Muse. It's not stronger than the Princess, but Alphin's. But overall, she's a bit quick, and she's got all those EP costs down, and AT delay, off, etc., etc. She's got all that as just an art attacker, while also having that Grail Thalis that I used before, which should also be a very useful concept. I almost sort of want to switch her out to work with Laura, because I'm just thinking about Laura taking a little bit of damage, but she also has the 200%, because part of how I did Laura also was give her a bunch of health. 45,000 on a non-tank is pretty high. Then again, guys, I actually did go purposely bulky for... I did that for Guy. I sort of went the opposite way for Gaius as I did for Laura. Laura is a bit... Laura's a bit glass cannon-y. Wow. But we'll get a bunch of CP from taking damage. Gaius is like tanky, but we'll be building up CP constantly via taking damage and all that sort of stuff, while also having the Akari, which makes probably up for a little bit about Lapis being one of the weaker tanky ones, while also having his for sure delay element to his S-Craft. So basically he's bulky while still having a pretty good strength stat, because 550 is pretty good. Honestly, for some of these, I'm not even sure what I did to actually get them to a point. I think the Prominent Soul and like the good accessory, like the Lost Craft, the Lost Art ones, and like the really good accessories are probably the bigger elements in pushing them up, because I gave him Dire for each of these. Yeah. I had True for both of them on this before, and then I just had the Dires as well as having his best weapon. Shit adds up. Because it's very interesting to see, like, I set it up, I get all this good stuff on him, and then I set someone else up on, and I'm sort of, like, going through the scraps a little bit, and I just look at, oh, look at this other physical attacker I'm trying to set up, 3,700. Hey, look at this S-Craft attacker that I am actively trying to make, like, strong, strength-wise, but look at all these that aren't really focused around strength, but are more focused around HP and defense. And it's still 5,500? It's interesting, because it's just like... Sometimes you really have to try. It speaks to the nature of how good some of the stuff, like the first the people who get first pick, basically, at their setup, how much of a difference that makes. Since I could go grind and get everyone up to that level, but also, no, fuck that. For Riksha, I have, obviously, evasion tank, evasion 100%, as you can see. I don't think I had anything on her that would break. Yeah, it's Dire and Pure Evergreen. I think I focused more heavily on making her pure evasion over evasion that can also attack really well. Because she only has 122 speed and only 5,100 strength versus Rain's 6,000. I say only. But yeah, most of this stuff was focused around that, as well as break damage. Guy is having the plus 80% break damage is also probably pretty good. She has the stronger after evading one, while also in general having another one of these where crit rate goes up at that point and insight can trigger and all that sort of stuff, and she has a greater range than the other evasion tanks that I have. So all of that should add up to a pretty good stuff. And that is Team B. On to Team A. I wanted to bring Estelle and Joshua along. I think they're the only... I guess Ren counts too. As a Libero representatives. I had them sort of set up previously, and I didn't really touch them too much, basically. Estelle, if I remember correctly, I basically had her set up as an HP and CP battery, even though she doesn't have much to use it on. While also having Tira Thalis as a backup option, as a just in case sort of let's get people up again if I'm really relying on her at that point. So yeah, CP battery, basically. With not good stats, but, you know, actually decent... Yeah, not good stats. Fuck. What did I put on her again for? Yeah, that's part of it. Because if you look at this, plus 300, plus 300, this Passionate Rouge is plus 250, and it's the really good one, remember? This one is plus 150, and it's also an improved version of the True Gladiator belt. They're not even bad, it's just that the power creep on the best items, once you put all the best items on a person, while also not having her best weapon, man, it really freaking adds up. It is actively amazing how much of a difference it makes. And it makes me wonder how much of a difference it's going to make in terms of how hard they really hit. Because 60%, 60 to 75% of the strength stat relative to the other setups is not a small amount. For Joshua, he's in a bit of a better situation because I actually got his proper weapon, which is probably the bigger thing here that's driving him to be more in the range of the other people. For him, he is a bit evasive. He's not exactly an evasion tank, but it felt like I had this available and it was better than my other options, so I put this on him. While also having pretty good attack, and his Master Quartz is based around sort of HP regen, crit rates, high HP increase. Yeah, really high crit rate. Well, pretty high crit rate when he's in that place. While also being a just-in-case... I guess I don't need him to be a just-in-case healer. He's probably the one that least needs to be a just-in-case healer at this point. I'm just thinking, like, did I have anything that was specifically crits? Could double up on the crit rate and just give him, like... Okay, there it is. That's what I want. Increase damage by crit rate. That's probably the better way to go about it. With that in mind, yeah. These two that had decent setups from when I set them up previously. They aren't fantastic by any means relative to everyone else. Not to mention they're like 6 levels below, so that also probably makes a bit of a difference. They're not like fantastic relative to everyone else, but they already had decent setups from when I was there before, so I didn't try to touch it too much. The rest of the people here will seem quite familiar, because they're outside of Yuna, part of our normal squad. So you can imagine Yuna, Joshua, Estelle got switched out on the teams, so Dubali, Laura, and Muse could go be regulars on another group. So, Swin is just so fucking fast now. 308 speed! How? I just did he doesn't have great attack, but like it'll hit. And if I get hit 20 times and he's getting constant crits, it'll make everyone else like constantly live, be in a constant state of just capability. Chrono Burst is an option. Oh, I actually actively, those moments in the battles where you just get like 20 turns in a row are so satisfying, especially if you like line up what Swin's doing here with like the delay reduction brave orders, and it's just like and they're broken, so you're constantly building back up the brave orders across it too. It is freaking satisfying. Altina is, as normal, my healer in the group, but also a pretty good art attacker as necessary. I don't think I did anything particularly special outside of just upgrade stuff. Yuna is, and I found this especially during the main story when I was in the Reen's route when we faced the... I really felt this work really well, the setup I have on her, when I was in the Reen's route facing the replicated Reen for the very first time, and she came out, and I had set her up like prior to that, and I didn't really expect much of her, and she did so much better than I was expecting. It's a really good defensive setup. The Anvari goes a long way by itself. Attracting enemy attentions does a bunch. Having that immunity and just having really that 60,000, 5,600 bulk and all that sort of stuff, while also having the Shining and the Adamantine to be support in a way to just keep people alive in such an effective way. It's really useful. Super duper useful. It's just thinking like, oh, could I get a better one? Get another 3,000 health on her. The only thing that I found odd going through all this is that I didn't think there was like an upgraded version of the shield one. Either I missed it going through everything. I didn't feel like I noticed one down here that seemed to focus on basically being an upgraded version of the shield stuff. Maybe Senin? But you sort of lose that when it goes to the... it doesn't really matter. I guess it is that, technically. I guess she already has that 25% plus 20%, so she has that. While also... 25... She is in a magic evasion thing. Oh, so that's like 75% magic evasion. I didn't even realize that. Because I didn't realize the Ascendant had the plus 25. Yeah, no, I really like her setup as a tank. As a pure, bulky tank. It feels like it works so well. Alphen is probably a very predictable one. In that she is an attacker. I also gave her the Mercurius a while back in order to give her that a bunch of options, right? Increases damage when exploiting weaknesses was also a big part of that. And also giving her... This is a big part to do crits, essentially. Inflicting abnormalities is also good. While also doubling down on the... Using some of these... Most notably Diabolos and Melville to give her an alternative, really big sort of like attack. To make use of that 5,600 art attack. I want to emphasize, let's look at my other art attackers that I was able to set up. 4,800. 4,900. 4,600. 5,600. That is... It feels good. In no small part. And her... Like, what... I could make it go up even farther. I could. If I wanted to switch out... That Solomon carve is really fucking good. I don't even remember where I got it, but it's really fucking good. Plus 400 of each, plus 20, plus 16,000 HP. That is so ridiculously good. I wish I had more than one. But I could theoretically push it up even more if I wasn't using this to bring her health up a bunch. Because she also has like a pretty good level of health to just stay alive. And then she also gets that plus CP per turn for if I want to use her in order to put down Grail, basically the her immunity S-craft, right? I love it. No, like legitimately. Some of these setups are, I'm just like, they're so fun to use and set up and actually go through the process of like having the setup and like the options that they give me and put together and put on the field. It's why I love this battle system as much as I have. It's so many, it's a toy box to go in and you just sort of figure out what you want to do. There are some broken stuff, obviously, and I think that's really part of the design at this point. I've come to that conclusion that it's definitely just part of the design, where they want things to be broken in there. In order to give you that feeling of satisfaction of going in and figuring stuff out and finding the broken thing. Obviously, there's a balance to that. So if you're not, the only thing I'd ever suggest about this game is to never look up setups. Never go find and copy someone's setup. Figure them out yourself because that is the most fun way to play this. With that in mind, we have Ash as well, where he has... Why do I have that? Increase... I don't actually know why I have that on him. I'm not sure that makes sense. Because I didn't change that before. Probably go for something that increases break damage. Yeah, probably go for... That actually isn't a bad one. Delay after attack multiplied by 2, especially if I'm using a if I'm using him as a because this doesn't have the reduced delay after. Yeah, that despite the lower level, I think that does make a lot of sense. With that said, the only thing I did was refine some of his stuff to get his stats up more, as well as because I already had the Roaring Orb on him, so I was able to get the Halo because I just built up enough. Sort of same over here with Reen, where for his setup, I was able to get his Steel 1, which is still good for him. I was able to get his Evasion to 98%. At this point, it's end of game. I don't know what they're going to throw at me. So I sort of just decided I'm not going to go back and reset people up. So I'm going balls to the wall. I'm not going to try to like hold back on the evasion and stuff like that. This Grail Locket preventing ailments and stuff like that. The Grail Lockets ended up becoming really fucking good because there's like a let's see if I can find one. There's an art version of it too that reduces cast time. Look, negative 66% cast time, negative 33% cast time. I assume they're not additive. I assume they multiply against each other, but yeah, that's not insignificant. And they all like remove ailments entirely too, which is just like, fuck, yeah, let's do that. And then Reen, yeah, is as we would expect him to be. Same as I've had him set up for a long time now. The only thing that I really don't care for at this point is the 3 turns of stealth. I do actually feel like that is like works against me a lot of the time. So I sort of came to the conclusion, like in that same way that I typically didn't try to go for 98%. I sort of did come to the thought that is like, yeah, I'm just gonna live with that. That's like a decent handicap, especially at the beginning of the battle. Just deal with it. Work around it, strategize around it. I like the setup besides that, otherwise. So yeah, really high attack, really high evasion, pretty high critical too, while also having all the counterattacks always crit, and etc, etc, etc. That one is very much as you'd expect it. So, we are 40 minutes into the recording session. Oh, I hope that was worth it. It was worth it for me, at least. I don't know exactly how they'll change all the stuff going to Daybreak. Because this is what I was getting at like the beginning of this discussion. I know it's more action-orientated. I know I've heard notes about you having the ability to make it more turn-based styled. What I do inherently expect is I inherently expect it to be sort of the changing of an era. Whether it's good, bad, I like it more or less than what it currently is. What I do expect is that the system here is basically going to not be as it is anymore. I hope it retains a lot of the things I really love about it in however they approach it in this new element of the series, because if you add action elements into it at all, it means the nature of the setup and balancing and how you react and do things in battle is going to have a much heavier pure skill element over strategic element to it. So by that alone, how you build the game is going to probably reduce that part of it, just by the nature of how you'd have to develop a game like that, right? I'm quite interested to see how it turns out, but I don't expect it to be the same, ultimately. So right now, this does feel like this is going to be a wave goodbye to the battle system. My favorite one in the series, at least so far. So, let me save, get up there, and we'll see if I get my ass kicked or not. We'll see if 40 minutes of explaining it was enough.
Alright, let's take 5.
Hell yeah, okay, I'm gonna get more water. Proceeding beyond this point will cause the story to advance. All characters will be called to take part in a 3-team battle. To ensure victory, prepare all party members for as much as possible, and prepare all desired upgrades with phantasmal shards. Proceed. Okay. We can do this. We can do this. I'm amazed you came all this way. I was actually sort of hoping they'd get this part voiced, but okay. It would have been in your best interest to leave me be. Then we'll have to agree to disagree. We're glad we could finally reach you. Do you want us to keep referring to you as the first Oz, or would you prefer to go by another name? I have no name. I'm not Kia, nor am I an Orion. I am nothing, have nothing. So it has always been. I am an empty shell, born 500 years ago and gone without a trace before I could leave a single mark on the world. The same is true even now. I was suddenly recreated here without knowing why. But as I watched this world slowly converge with me at its core, I quickly realized what Elysium was hoping to accomplish. So it's true. Elysium is the reason you came to exist here at all.
Though you seem to be more than just simple recreation of what once was.
Exactly. The Oz series was designed to, in order to forge a sword of the end. And that wouldn't serve any purpose now that the Great Twilight is past. Yet if we've learned anything, it's that Elysium always realizes something for a reason, so you must have a purpose. I can only think of one other possibility. Her appearance. How could not elicit a response from us? She was chosen because of how similar she is to Kia. In other words, she was the first iteration of being created to be the Zero Child. Wait, you can't be serious. This is where all possibilities ultimately lead, the farthest reaches of our world. There are faint traces of one such concept still here. A being that once lamented the tragedies of their own making so dearly. They dissolve their own causality, vanishing from this world. A fragment of fate so small that no one should be able to even detect it. A fragment of fate? A being that dissolved their causality? Oh, the original. Because Kia's whole thing was, it was like an artificial version of it, wasn't it? When Elysium was corrupted, it achieved the impossible by calculating that being's existence and realizing them. It hoped, in doing so, that it would create a new world with Crossbell at its center, while eliminating all obstacles in its way. Thought so. It all makes sense now. To think this ties as far back as the ancient Zemurian civilization. So this still connects to everything the SSS went through 3 years ago. It seems that way. You gotta be real twisted to use a creature like that as your last card. Worse, let's use all the chaos that's in Crossbow to grow even stronger than the original. Right here, with you at the center. Now we know the root cause behind what's happening in the Reverie corridor. You've probably been trying really hard all this time to keep the problem at bay, haven't you? By using yourself as a key to keep it locked away. I understand now. Indeed, the pieces have fallen into place. And now that we know what it is we're up against, there's not a moment to waste. As I have told you, your efforts are futile. Balance shall be maintained here so long as I am here to will it. She will never wake up. She will never be able to cause harm to Zemuria. I'll make certain of that. But
Where does that leave you? You really up for holding off something that almighty for all eternity?
there's nothing more for you here. You must leave and return to your own world. For you, the space is not but a fleeting dream, an illusion. That is how it should be. Just as how I should meet a similar end as she did. I am destined to wait here in silence and alone until the end of my days.
A dream or illusion? I think you're right to some degree.
But be that as it may, are you content with that? What? It's true that once we're back in the real world, we'll forget everything that happened here. But you won't. You'll still be here, eternally suffering for us. Are you content with suffering? That question serves no purpose. None of this should be happening at all. I shouldn't even be in existence. What reason would you ask that of an illusion? Whether you perceive yourself as real or an illusion doesn't matter. I want to know how you feel. You remind me of how I used to be. How all I cared about was completing the task given to me. Nothing else in my world mattered. So then that someone I cared about asked me what I wanted to accomplish. What kind of future I wanted. He wanted those things to matter to me.
You remember, huh?
So when I look at you, it's like looking into a reflection of my own past. You act as though you've accepted this, but is that true? Or are you only burying your true feelings deep inside? I can't just leave and condemn you to living in pain forever, not after seeing who you are. Am I content? I don't... It's okay to want things. I also learned that through people I care deeply about. All you have to do is hold out your hand and someone will take it. LP? Why do you care so much about me? I'm just a replica of a fragment from a long-lost history, completely detached from you. You would be spared so much trouble by choosing to ignore me. Is it because I have Kia's face? Because I'm the first Oz? That's because we met you. That's all. Now that we know you, you're part of our lives. And it's perfectly normal to want to help those in our lives. Even if destiny forces us to part ways, I want to at least see you smile once before that happens.
Besides, you're not just anything. You're an individual who's hurting. We don't need any other justification to go as far as it takes to help you. Yeah. Who you were in the past all comes second to that.
We want to do what we feel is right. Exactly. It's always been in line with the principles and goals of the SSS. What makes you think you understand me so well? When did I say I was in need? When did I ask you to think of how I feel? When... Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Is her will... What is this mana? It's resonating with the pleroma grass. Her mental state is causing something to awaken. No, I can't let myself think like this. She's going to wake up. You've been trying to lock away your sense of self this whole time, haven't you? But you don't need to do that anymore. You've suffered long enough. Leave the rest to us. You don't need to shoulder the burden alone anymore. We're here to carry all we can and more. Don't worry. Whatever comes of it, we can handle it.
The damage wrought by Elysium was always ours to heal.
Speak from your heart, reflection of the Zero Child. Tell us what you truly want.
Please. Stop me. No, stop her. Set her free. Let her finally be at rest.
Ooh.
What is this overwhelming stream of consciousness? It's as though it's conveying his very thoughts through pure mana. But this is... You were right. Yeah, on the mark. It doesn't look exactly the same as it did 3 years ago. There's no doubt in my mind. That's Demiurgus. The real one. Another of the Septarians. But this isn't like the Septarian or Of-Zero or the original. It's more an incomplete blend of several causalities woven into one. Okay. Must be a distorted version of the Septarian Mirage's original personality. However incomplete it is, it still houses the power of one of the goddess's gifts. This isn't going to be easy. Yet we'll still come out victorious. It could go easily out of control at any moment. Watch yourselves! Oh, this is actually... They're actually using Azure, Oh my goodness.
Anomalies detected. Identify yourselves.
It's time to make a little girl's wish come true. And we won't fail. I'll put all I've become as the final Oz on the line for this. We will set her free. We have to. This is it. There's no stopping now, so you better be ready. I am. Go on, I believe in you. Fight with everything you got, so we can all make it through this.
Hostile intent detected. Those who oppose extinction must be eradicated. Activating defense mechanisms. Commencing eradication.
I guess they did say that it was Elysian's replication of the remnants, right? So I guess that technically wasn't entirely true. The final battle must be fought using 3 teams. Teams will fight in ABC order, so please ensure all 3 have equal strength as possible. Okay. So it's in that order. Oh! It even switched the... did it? Yeah, that is actually probably the order I want. I just need to think through the extras.